Okay, hello again. Welcome back. Uh, this is going to be my part 6 of 25NL session review in my $80 to $8,000 challenge. You can find the thread at the 2+2 forums, and I'm the same name as I am on YouTube here. As you see, I had another negative session here. 1,500 hand session. I have 11 hands marked for review that are all over 30 big blinds at 25NL. And as you see, I have quite a large downswing here at 25NL, and this is not even including the hands that I lost whenever the HUD wasn't working. So I'm at a 17 buy-in downswing at 25NL in the past 8 days. So basically a week, and I'm down 17 buy-ins at 25NL. As you see, I'm running pretty well at 10NL. But I'm having some pretty ridiculous luck, and things just are not going my way, and we're gonna do some review, see if I can find some other spots where I'm either being a donkey or not extracting as much value as I believe I should be. So we have 9-9 here, and I'm isolating a 67 who limped with pocket nines, and I flop set. So because their range is pretty weak, I'm going to have to just kind of hope that they have a jack or something like 10 queen or queen jack or 10 king or something like that, or maybe like ace X that wants to float me for like a backdoor flush draw. So I'm going to bet pretty big, and 230 is a pretty fine bet size. I think it could actually still keep in some of their ace high combinations. And now there's spade draws, and there's also more straight draws opening up. Ace 4, ace 3, 6, 7 of spades and things like that. So they might even call with, pocket 8s, pocket 10s. Of course, the jack X, 9X, maybe like 9 ace. So I'm going to bet this pretty big, something like $5.50, $6. So that's a good bet size. I like that a lot. Basically, I did some calculations the other day, and I think that on the turn, if you can pretty much bet like a third of the villain's stack size, I could be wrong here. Okay, so if stacks are pretty much like normal pre-flop, like 100 big blinds, if you can bet a third of their stack size on the turn, it actually sets up a really sweet river shove pricing. So let's see if that works out. This is almost a third. It's a little bit more like, I guess, what, 29%, 28%, but we're gonna see. So as you see now, they have 1360 remaining, and the pot size is 1860. So if I went to more like $5.90 or $6, $6 would have been more closer, like 31%, I think, ish, of their stack size, and that would have been another 80 cents, so like 19.40, and they would have had like $13 remaining. But anyway, so a third of their stack size on the turn for a nice river shove. There's no reason for me not to shove this, and they fold, so that sucks. next hand. 75 cents. I'm being 3-bet by an unknown. And, oh wait, no, it's a 13% 3-bet. I guess depending on the player, I could consider 4-betting pocket tens, but I guess I decided to call this time, and just to see what happens. So I have an overpair, and I check, they bet, I call, I check, they bet, I call, and then I check, and then they shove. I mean, I don't really feel like calling this just because I think that the majority of players at these micro stakes are going to be a little bit too timid to bluff shove the river with something like ace king. And as you see, it's not like they're picking up any kind of equity on the turn. And I mean, this guy could have had pocket nines, maybe even pocket sevens as well. Ace 5 suited. 5-6 suited, perhaps. I mean, this is a pretty wide 3-bet range, but they could also have overbears, of course, like kings, aces, maybe something like queens. So if we ran Equilab and I was able to put some air balls in a bluff range in the analysis compared to all of the combinations that actually have me beat, I think folding tens here is a fine fold. And I don't really know what their bet turn percentage is, and I don't really have any notes about this player, but check folding the turn. If I had notes about them, I could be doing that as well. But I guess I could have I think I maybe should have 4-bet pre-flop. But then it's always kind of a 6 spot. Like if I make it like $5.75 or $6, and then they just kind of flat me, and then like a king jack 4 flops, and then I'm gonna have to check fold to any kind of a bet that they make. So I don't know. I think that I played this fine. I don't really think I should be folding on the turn versus the population. And once he does that, I think a fold is pretty good. So this player opens pretty big under the gun, a 24-11, 0% 3-bet, and I feel like 3-betting is pretty big, just because I feel like their range is going to be pretty wide. So this isn't really going to be an interesting hand. I win the pot, they have ace king next hand. As you see, I don't actually take out of the videos. I don't look at the hands before I go through this official type of video review of them, because I like to actually analyze everything that I do, like 3-bet sizings and flop turn river bet sizings. Even if I stack somebody and I win the pot, or if it's like a bad beat, I think that there's still things that you could look at. So this is a 25-17, and I don't really feel like 3-betting an under the gun range with queen king suited. I'd rather just play some poker in position and call this c-bet with top pair. And they check, and I'm gonna bet this because they could have king jack, they could have queens, jacks, diamond, and spade draws, and also something like like pocket fives maybe. Yeah, that's a lot of combinations that are going to call a reasonable size bet. Oh, okay, so I have a flush now. And now I'm going to have to pretty much hope that they might have Ace King. Maybe they're checking the turn with Ace King. Check calling with Ace King. Another king, like King X, King Queen, King Jack, might actually call a river bet because they might think that like I have a diamond draw or something, maybe. And I don't really see them calling with queens or jacks here. They might. And this makes me believe that I should kind of be betting around $6 to get a call from a King X, because I don't really feel like anything that's not a King X is gonna call me. And it doesn't really seem like they're playing the hand like they have a set, or if they had the nut flush on the river, they probably would have like donked it. So yeah, $6 I think is a fine bet. And it doesn't show what they have, but I think it might be safe to assume that they might have had like Queen King or Queen Jack. So $6 was a good bet, I think. 8 Ace. I'm going to be trying to isolate this Romeo player over here. They're super, super bad. I played with them like last night, and they're one of the worst players ever. And they're very, very bluffy. He bluffed me out of 2 pots because before I could even get a read on them, they're basically just like potting and then over shoving the turns with pocket 5s and ace high and just shit like that. And actually I folded pretty strong hands both times just because I didn't really feel like calling like a $20 bet on the turn, because you know I just didn't really know how they played when the pot was like $5 or $6 and they're shoving $23. And he showed me the cards both times. So I have top pair, and this player is kind of worrying me just because he called my isolation size, and it makes me think that of course he could have pocket pairs and like stronger aces and things like that. But I think maybe I should have bet this just because this player is going to have a pretty wide range, and then I could probably shut down if this player calls. So I think I should have bet that. I think what I was actually hoping for, this is what I was hoping for. I was hoping that if I checked and then this guy checked, that Romeo would pot it and just start trying to bluff. But they check behind, which makes me believe that maybe they're a little bit less aggressive in multi-way pots, or maybe they're changing their play style because he already showed me 2 bluffs and he doesn't want to keep bluffing me. So I feel like betting this again just because I think that he could be calling me with weaker 8x, 7x, 5x maybe. And they call, and they win, and they have queen 2 because they had the flush draw on the turn, so that was just really bad luck on my part. There's really no reason why I should have checked the river, because a 51-9 can easily call with a weaker 8, or maybe a 7x, pocket 6s or something that just doesn't really believe me because I actually did check the flop there. So that was fine. Just the fish got lucky. So I'm isolating, or yeah, I'm isolating again. Ace King off. 67-17's calling me, and I flop a straight, and there's really no reason for me to slow play this, so I'm going to be betting pretty big. As you know, 10 King, Jack King, Queen King, 8-9, Queen Jack, 10 Jack, 10 Queen, pocket 10s, pocket Jacks, pocket Queens. That's like 80-90 combinations that are going to call a big flop bet. Pocket 9s, pocket Kings, 9 King, what, like 100 combinations probably. So the 6 is a brick, and I'm going to bet this again, like $6, $7. Yeah. I was just really wanting to get my my stack in here. So sadly they fold to my river shove. So not only am I running bad, as in like bluffs failing and things like that, but I feel like I'm not getting paid off on my monsters as much as I would normally do at these micro stakes. And yeah, that just kind of sucks all around. So this player opens pretty big, and they only have $10 here, and they're 45-23, 15% 3-bet, and I'm not really sure I like my. I think that this is kind of fine. I think that compared to their entire range, I'm going to be pretty solid. And I probably saw them opening for this much in like a previous hand, and wanted to just kind of get my money in. So they call, and I completely miss here. And I think that, well, I made the argument in another video that if you can make a fish believe that you're not really a nit and that you're kind of an action player, that they're gonna continue playing with you and kind of having some fun and gambling with you, and you can really take advantage of that. That's just a theory that I have, and it seems pretty legit in my eyes. So bet calling this, I think, would be fine. I mean, he only has $8 remaining, and the pot's already $6. And I don't really want to be bluffed on the turn card if like a king hits and then he wants to bluff shove like a jack 10 or something like that. So I think that I could just jam this and try to scare away at least a small portion of his range. But he's not going to be folding anything. And so he calls, and he has pocket jacks. So I think that was fine, because as you see, Queen Ace was ahead of jacks pre-flop and also on the flop. I have like the backdoor straight draw, wheel draw, and also like 30%, is it 28% equity versus their jacks on the flop to begin with. And he didn't have much of a stack, so I wasn't really too worried about that. But I guess I could have just called pre-flop and not 3-bet. I think that's what I would have done in a perfect world, if I was truly paying attention and processing everything perfectly. So I feel like 3-betting Queen Ace suited versus this player, because I'm on the button, and they call, and I would pretty much do a standard c-bet just to fold out like their pocket 3s, 5s, 7s. If they have 7s, 8s, 9s, it's probably going to take me 2 barrels. So I'm going to have to hope that another high card hits, like maybe a king. Hopefully like a queen or ace will hit. If a club comes out, like maybe a 10 of clubs, that'll be a nice card for me to double barrel on, because then I'll have like the Broadway plus the clubs, and also it's going to put more pressure on his 9s, 8s, 7s, 5s, things like that. So it kind of bricks there, and I'm not really sure that I like. Yeah, so this is a common theme that you'll see, where I am noticeably playing differently at 25 NL than I am at 10 NL. In my 10 NL videos, if this 5 of hearts bricked on the turn, I would have just checked behind and just kind of given up the hand, because I'm not developing more equity nor am I developing cards that are going to provide me a better chance to get the villain to fold the range that I'm assigning them, which again is like all the pocket pairs under jacks. So if they do have 8s or 9s or 10s, it is possible that they're going to call again just because it's bricked and it doesn't really scare them that much. So I'm kind of just trying to play whack-a-mole here, and obviously I miss the mole with my hammer, and you know, like they just keep popping up and you just start getting desperate and just start spazzing out. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of spazzing out, just hammering randomly and hoping to whack-a-mole, I guess. So I'm not really going to be shoving this river, just because, I mean, by this time they could still have Jack X or pocket 9s. And they had pocket 10s. And that's why I probably shouldn't have double barreled on the 5 of hearts. If a king hit or if a club hit, then that would have been really, really nice. And I think that I would have actually double barreled if a club or a king hit, especially if a king hit. I mean, that would have been like a really nice card to double barrel on. So I think that I definitely misplayed that on the turn, and in the future I'd like to check behind at 25 and L. Probably even higher stakes too, because a lot of players are going to check call 10s there, and I don't blame them. I mean, I might have actually done that as well. So I like to call with suited aces pre-flop and just kind of hope that other people call so that we can get a multi-way pot going. And as you see, there's no huge 3-betters or squeezers behind me. I would kind of look at that first before I decide to commit to calling here. And I flop of a nut flush. So all I can really do is just bet and hope somebody has a set or a straight or a smaller flush or queen 10 or 10-8 or queen 8 or queen king with the king of hearts or something like that. So this player wants to raise me, and I'm completely fine with that, and I'm just gonna call. And I don't really like that turn card very much. But because they showed interest on the flop, raising me on the flop, and now they're basically half potting the turn, they only have $13 remaining here. I don't really want another heart to come out and scare them, and I really, really don't want something like the board to pair again or an 8 to come out, because then if they have a flush, then I'm not going to get paid off either. So when they bet $7, I really don't think that they're planning on folding to my shove, and it makes me think that they might have like queen 10 or a smaller flush, maybe a straight, I guess, like 9 king, no, or 9 jack. So I decided to jam, and I think that that's perfectly fine, and they fold. And again, as you see, I'm not getting paid off. That's another common theme, is I'm just not getting paid off on my monsters, and yet all my bluffs are failing, and I'm getting a little bit desperate because, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like this is a 15-17 buy and downswing here, and I'm really trying to recover from this mentally. And if you've ever been on a huge downswing like this before, you really start to play differently until you kind of grab yourself by your bootstraps and like pull yourself, pull yourself up. Which I feel like I actually have done. I'm out of the slump mentally. So as you see, there's 74.22, and I'm kind of just betting here. This guy bets, and I'm just gonna raise this because I have top 2 pair, and they call, and I bomb the turn, and they call. So at this point, they only have $8 remaining, and I still have 2 pair, and they would have had to have had something like 7 ace or king ace for me to be behind here, or maybe a flush, but because they're 74.22, like I'm not really gonna only assign them flush combinations. So they shove, and I'm just gonna call this off because they could be completely wild, like 36% squeeze, 80% bet flop, 25% 4-bet, 20% 3-bet. They're just kind of a psycho whale, and I could easily see them doing this with, something like 7x or 5-6 combinations, 5-6 because they would have missed their draws. Spazzed out aces that got to the river somehow. Okay, that's even worse. So he's spaz shoving a weak king on the river after the ace and also the flush is hit. I guess he was trying to represent the ace or the flush because he probably felt like he was beat on the turn and the flop. So he probably just tried to use his ace of hearts as a bluff card, which I would make a note about. Like, they're not afraid to bluff. So that was a nice hand, I guess. So we have Dust Muffin over here, and I'm just gonna bet this. And now he's min raising the turn, and they're 44.15, 3.6% 3-bet. So 9x is definitely in the range, but there's also other hands they could have other than 9x. Basically air balls, pocket queens, pocket jacks might want to do this. 8x might want to do this. Spades, 10 jack, 6-7 might want to do this. Pocket 8s, pocket 4s. I mean, did I mention air balls? Somebody with these stats I feel like could be doing this with some pretty random stuff. So I'm going to probably just check call this. Because the spades missed, like if he's doing this with a spade draw, then the spades missed. If he had 6-7, then all he has is a pair of 7s. He'd have to have 10 jack specifically, or like a 9x for me to be beat here. So as long as he doesn't bet too big, it's probably not going to scare me away. So he bets $8, and I mean, it's not like I'm fist pump calling this, but I do feel like I should call this just because they're kind of an unknown, and they have some pretty fishy stats here. And then in the future, I could probably just try to play differently against them. I guess some people watching this might think that I should be folding to this river bet, but as you saw in the last hand, like the guy donk shoves the river with like a weak second pair, and like they're just so random sometimes, and you have to include some air balls and also just some weirdly played showdown value. The like 6-7 would make sense because even if he hit his 7 on the river, he might still try to turn it into a bluff. Maybe he thinks an 8x is good as well. Like he might be trying to get value from ace high or like a 7x or like a weaker 8 or something like that. I mean, I don't know. But I call. And they have 10 jack. And that sucks for me. So that was all the hands for that session review. 30 minutes in. And let's see if I can get to some other hands here. So, oh, look at this. I have a boat here and I don't even win any money. That's weird. This is my session review. So it looks like I have actually, yeah, I don't know why that's here. So I have this session review for everything 40 big blinds and above. Just because I feel like I'm playing pretty well, and I'm not really making too many mistakes. What is this? No, I don't want that. So yeah, let's close out of this and let's open up this one, and we're gonna try to get through this set pretty quickly. Pocket aces. You know what? Because this is 10-0, I think I'm going to actually just make this a 10-0 video. And we could probably do, let's do this instead. Let's do, this is actually a mixed session. As you see, it's 25 and 10-0. So I can actually mark these, I guess, for suckouts and take them off of the review, so I can go to for review. And it seems like, yeah, so we only have 25 NL here. And this is all pots that are 40 big blinds and above. So we're going to go to replay all, and we're going to make this a part of our 25 NL part 6, I believe it is. What? Oh no, it's freezing up on me. Is it? Okay, so it seems to be 1 of 14. Let's see if we can get through these a little bit quicker. So I'm being raised from the button, and I have ace jack suited. So I'm probably just gonna try to get the money in pre-flop. Yeah, he 4-bet side jam. He calls, and he had 10, so that's fine. That was a fine hand. Stacking off with ace jack suited with like what, 37, 38 big blind stack with that type of a player. I'm gonna be licking my chops all day long with that. So I flop top 2 pair. This player donks, that player calls, and I'm just gonna call here, I think, because the board's pretty dry, and I guess I wanna leave this player's bluff range in. And Clow Queen, I mean, if they have a jack, they're probably going to fold to my shove. So maybe if like a 10 hits or a queen hits, they might pick up 2 pair, and this player can continue bluffing. And I have a boat, and I'm just going to call again and, you know, just give them some more rope. And they check, and I just bet $5, and they fold. So that sucks. Yeah. But I do win a good pot. But I really would like to have like another $10 in my bankroll. So we have 10 king suited. I'm isolating this player because they limped on the button. And I check. This is like a new me where in the forums I have a post that's basically saying if I hit, I'm going to bet, and if I miss, I'm going to check. Because, as you see, my bet flop is already 52%. But at 25-0, I feel like because the pot sizes are a little bit bigger, the money's starting to mean something to me, and I'm trying to steal the money in the pot, even though in situations where it's, in my opinion, not the best recipe for like double barreling, or only a few times that I'm doing that. I don't really have a tendency to like desperately double barrel on any kind of a run out. So I pick up top pair here, and he calls, and I'm just gonna jam, and they call, and they have pocket eights. So they called me with pocket eights on the river, and that's pretty sweet. King ace, 3-betting this player here, and they call, and an ace hits, and they open shove, and I'm gonna call, and they have 10 queen. Okay, wow, so they just shoved that flop with a gut shot. Yeah, next hand, 10 ace. This session was going pretty well, actually, until the end. Okay, this is a hand that I'm kind of embarrassed to even replay and show people, but it's important for the world to see, and it's important for me to take responsibility for my donkey nature in this hand. And this is probably, like, out of all the review videos, the worst river call that I've made. But I mean, let's just say, like, out of 20,000 hands, I'm making a river call like this one time. Like, I can't really beat myself up too much. Okay, so this is my thinking. They didn't 3-bet me pre-flop, so I'm not going to really give him any kind of a king X. Like, as you see, they flat pre-flop. King ace, king queen probably would have 3-bet me. King jack, I guess he could have. King 10 combinations are a little bit diminished, but I guess it's possible for him to have a king 10. King 9 suited maybe as well. So that, I mean, that's a few combinations right there. Like 20. King jack off, king 10, and then king 9 suited. 36 combinations, but that's not entirely accurate because I'm holding some of the cards, and also the flop is holding some of the cards. I guess I kind of just I overanalyzed the situation, I guess, and so it still shows 36 combinations, which kind of annoys me because that's not display card removal. The hell? Is this the card removal that so maybe this is the cards that are remaining. Is there a king of hearts? King of clubs, king of diamonds, king of hearts? There's no king of hearts. Is there a 10 of hearts? Maybe I just learned something here. Okay, so yeah, display card removal. So removing all the combinations, because I have blockers to his 10 king, and so that's 21 combinations that he has of king X that have me beat right now. And okay, so he bets in position after I check. My plan is definitely to check call this, and now the 8 of hearts shows up. So I'm not really worried about the 8 at all. I don't think that he's going to be betting a 10x in position, And I mean, even if he does, I'm happy with that because he's probably not going to do that on the turn. So he bets 317 on the turn, and at this point, like, he's gonna have to have King Jack or King 9. He might actually bet King 9 suited on the turn here. I believe that he would do that. So we're going to continue leaving him 21 combinations. Now, other combinations that he could have is 3-3. Selected range contains 3 combinations. So what is that? 3 combinations? Since there's a 3, I always thought it was 4 for a set. I guess, okay, so what does that mean? Like, there's 4 combinations of pocket 3s, but only 3 combinations because there's a 3 out on the board already. So it is possible that he has pocket 3s. So that was 24 combinations. Pocket 8s, he may have bet pocket 8s on the flop just to try to win the pot and prevent, I guess, protect his hand, as you might want to say. But let's just leave that out of the range analysis for now. So we have 24 combinations, and now other combinations that I believe he could be maybe doing this with: Ace Jack suited, Ace Jack off is 12 combinations. A lot of the club combinations too, like all of these and Queen Jack, Queen 9, Queen 8, Jack 9, Jack 8, he'll probably check behind, and then 9, 7, 8, 7, he'll probably check behind. So let's give him 7, 6, and 6, 5 as well. And so all these kings suited, as I said, he'll probably, he's gonna bet anyway, whether or not he has the flush draw or not. So we're gonna make these into clubs. I can definitely see him double barreling flush draws here. So that's 24 combinations of hands that he could be double barreling with, that he did not 3-bet me with, and that I'm actually currently ahead of. Okay, so 24 combinations compared to, I think it was 24 combinations of his value hands that actually have me beat. Okay, so that's really important. It's basically even right now because his bet turn percentage is 69. It actually lowered a little bit before it was at 80%, but it's since lowered a little bit. And what that means is that he's going to be betting a lot of draws on the turn. So because I'm taking away some of his King X combinations, and I'm not going to really be giving him any 10x on the turn with his bet size. I think, I mean, I could be missing some things, but it seems like it's pretty much even, like 21 versus 21, 24, 21-ish between bluff range and also value range. I think that the turn is a clear check call. I really do honestly believe that the turn is a clear check call here. And so on the river, the Jack of Hearts hits. And I guess I should have included some of the heart combinations on the turn. That he would have maybe, he might have tried to steal the pot on the river with backdoor hearts. So what that actually means is that on the turn, we could probably assign him more of a bluff range than he has a value range at that point. But now on the river, because some of the hands that I gave him in the beginning, but actually ace jack, he's not going to be value betting a jack on the river here. I think that maybe he'd be value betting king jack. Okay, so then what we have to do is we have to assign him an 8 of hearts. And believe me that when I was in this hand, I was actually doing this analysis in my head. I wasn't just donkey check calling just for the hell of it. I really did have a plan. I mean, I honestly really did have a plan. Let's go for king jack. Suited, king jack off. Well, king jack suited actually, no, he doesn't necessarily have to 3-bet that pre-flop. Pocket threes have me beat, and king 10 suited has me beat, and ace queen probably would have 3-bet me pre-flop. So I think that this is his value range. This is the range that he's going to bet the river. But I think I also have to give him 9 queens suited. 9 queens suited of either clubs or hearts, because he probably wouldn't be betting the turn with just the gut shot. So that's 16 combinations. I don't think I'm missing anything unless I want to put 8s in. Let's just go to 19 combinations at the highest and 16 at the lowest. But if we remember before, he also had the club combinations, and his king 9 isn't going to be betting anymore. So it's really just ace jack isn't going to be betting anymore, and he's not going to be value betting a 10 on the turn, so 10 jack is out of the range as well. So what was that? That was like basically like all the club combinations that missed, I guess, which really doesn't seem to be that much now. I guess ace 9, ace 7, ace 6, ace 5, ace 4, and ace 2, and something like king 9, queen 9, queen 8, queen 7. He probably didn't call me with queen 7, but let's just give that to him as well. So all the jacks actually have a jack on the river, so he wouldn't be bluffing that. The 9-7 has a straight, so actually there's a few more value range that he would be betting this with, other than just the queen 9. The 9-7 suited as well, because he'd have a straight. So that would be like 8-20 16 to 20 combinations of value hands from the previous screen that we did. And I don't believe that he'd be triple barrel bluffing this complete airball, but like let's just say that he would. Let's just give him something like cool. I mean, it would really have to be a complete airball, like ace 9 off, something like that. Now the other thing is that, of course, I'm not even sure that he's going to be doing that. 23 combinations of clubs that he might consider triple barrel bluffing on the river here. I don't have a read that he does triple barrel bluff, but because of the way that I played the hand, and because I'm just kind of check calling, and he probably doesn't think that I'm check calling with ace queen, and if I did, I probably would like c-bet the flop so he can take that out of my range. He doesn't think that I have a straight on the river. He's not gonna really think that I have a king ace or king queen, because I don't really check call my top range like that. He might know that already after 2,000 hands. So he probably is correctly putting me on pocket queens or a 10x. And he probably thinks that he could bluff me off of that. This is actually a really interesting hand, because I might be overanalyzing this player's tendency to bluff, triple barrel bluff the river. But if I think that he has 23 combinations, I guess we can just take that one out. Let's say 22 combinations. 10 combinations. Or if he wants to, okay, well, if he has ace 9, then he's gonna have like ace 7 as well, I guess. And I think this is a pretty accurate analysis. So at the very worst, 10 combinations compared to like 16 combinations of value hands. And because he's only betting like 7 into 1080, I felt like I should be check calling this river as well. But I guess if I included the heart combos that got there, like all the ace x of hearts, which I actually didn't include in his range, I wonder if I can add those to the so I mean, it looks like it goes up to around 16 combinations after that to begin with. So I think that this, in the end, should be a check fold, like an exploitable check fold. If he wants to exploit my queens or 10x on this board or this specific run out, then I would have to begin checking a stronger portion of my range, like king queen or king ace, and allow him to exercise his bluff range versus my value range. And I could adapt to him in the future because this is my most played villain. But I don't know. I think that it's a check fold on the river here. And somebody else might disagree. I think that an argument could be made for check calling, as long as you don't do it too much, and if you feel like your analysis was pretty accurate. But it turns out that he actually did have pocket threes, and that does make sense. That is one of the value ranges that I assigned him in the beginning. And yeah, I think that's one of the only value ranges that he could have. It was 16 combinations compared to 16 plus the hearts, so that's like 20 combinations compared to 10 broken flush draws. And that's actually excluding airball ranges. Like if he really wanted to triple barrel bluff and try to push me off a 10x or queens with something like an ace x off, then that would have included a lot more combinations. So I think it all boils down to whether or not I have a read that this player might triple barrel bluff the river when I'm showing weakness like this. And now that I did this analysis, I don't think that my check call was incredibly fishy. I think that I had pretty solid reasons to do it, and maybe I was just interested in whether or not they do have a bluff range, or if they're going to triple barrel bluff versus me after this many hands, and if I do show this much weakness. But whenever you're deciding to turn your hand into a bluff catcher, you really need to have really solid reasons for it. In live poker, at the 2-5 games that I used to play, I called this guy's like $90 bet on the river with ace high, and I had like a pretty damn high confidence level that I had the best hand. And just because of the way that the board ran out and his betting pattern on the flop and turn and previous history, I had to assemble it all together. And he had exactly the hand that I thought that he would have, which was a broken straight draw, because he bet the turn or the flop, and I called. He checked the turn, and I checked behind. The river bricked, and then he bombed it. So the only thing that I could put him on was like the brick, like a set, whatever the brick was, like maybe a set of fours, and he hit a 4 on the river, or his straight draw broke, because he's not the type of player that's going to be checking his value hands like that on the turn. Like he's kind of a betting machine. He just keeps betting and betting. So whenever he checks the turn, I pretty much got a read that he didn't really have shit. And so then he overbets the river, and I call him. I mean, he was fuming. He was so pissed. Like, how do you call that with ace high? Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you even play 2-5? And at that time, I mean, I was a professional poker player, and I've probably played many more hands than he has. And there's other times when I can bluff catch, but you have to really have a reason for it, and you can't just do it stubbornly, because you're going to be bleeding a lot if you do that. So it looks like I'm donking here into 3 other players, and I'm fine with that because I have a straight draw with overs, and the board's pretty dry, and it's going to be kind of hard for anybody to have hit anything. But we do get a caller, and I think that this is a really nice card to bluff on the turn as well. And that's what I do. It could probably fold out some of his 9x, like 9 jack, things like that. And at this point, because I'm committing to the ace, I might actually be inclined to triple this on the river as well, because I could be representing something like 10 ace or 9 ace at that point, or like a set. So he raises me here, and at this point I have to believe that he definitely has a hand that he likes, he doesn't really seem too crazy. So in order to justify this, I basically have 8 outs that'll save me, which is like 16%. 8 times 2. 12%? No, that's not right. 16%. Yeah. So 100 divided by 16 is 6.25. So it's like a 1 in 6.25 chance that I'm going to hit like a king or an 8 on the river. So I have to take his bet size. I basically have to call like 656. So my choppy math here, like this is probably not a positive EV call. So 656 times 6.25 is $41, and that's probably not even like the most accurate way of doing this. But if I can establish a $41 price, like with all the money involved, which would be like the rest of his money plus that, which is 16 plus 1080 plus 622 is 33. Makes me think that I'm doing something wrong, but it could just be that I made a really, really, really bad play here. Yeah, I think I didn't really take the time to do the math. This is a really big raise, and he doesn't really have much behind either. So I should have folded this. Definitely should have been a fold. And I really want my math game to improve when I'm at the tables, because I think that this is a pretty obvious fold. And normally I wouldn't call this, because right here, like I'm looking at this and I'm thinking like it's not really a good call. But it looks like I call, and I really have nothing to do here except for check fold, and then they shove, and then I'm screwed. I think what I did is I did some rough math. It was probably something like, okay, $6, $6.50 to call, times 6 is like 36, and then I quickly added this up. But I didn't really do the math very perfectly. And 6.25, 1 and 6.25, 1 and 6, pretty much the same thing. I want to have a clear positive EV in these situations, because I don't want to commit myself to making these plays if it's just going to be break even. At worst, it's break even, but here I think it's clearly minus EV to call this. But even if it was break even, you have to remember that also there's a couple other factors, which is basically the rake. The rake gets taken out, which basically destroys the break-even EV to begin with, because you already lose money after you win the pot, if you win the pot. And the other thing is that the more buy-ins you lose, the more tilted you have a chance of getting, which could affect you even further. So in my head, I was probably thinking that this was like pretty much a break-even play, and I guess I just wanted something to happen. This isn't like the most negative EV play that you could think of, but I'm pretty sure it's negative EV after doing more detailed calculations. So that's another hand that I don't like showing. I really do need to improve my math game at the tables and just take a little bit more time to calculate everything. So we flop top 2, and there's no reason for me to call this because we have some fishy players showing interest in the pot. There's a ton of combinations that are going to call me on the flop raise here. So this guy shoves, that guy folds, I call. And they had a flush draw, and I win that pot. Queen ace off, I raise. 3-bet, I mean, this fishy player over here. And they shove, and I call. One reason is because there's already 350 in the pot, and they only have 17 remaining. It's not like they're shoving 30, they're only shoving 17. And they have pretty wild stats so far. So I'm really actually thinking that I'm going to be pretty solid against a lot of their range. With ace queen, of course. And they have pocket 10s. And I mean pocket 9s. Something like ace jack suited, I would assign to their range with stats like this. And I mean, because of how much money was already in the pot, I think that was a solid call. But if you really want to, we could include all of this stuff, maybe even king queen suited, and then also maybe some randoms like jack 10 suited and maybe ace 10 suited. So let's just use this, and I'm going to put in queen of clubs and ace of hearts, and we're going to delete that and evaluate. Okay, well, 42%. Oh, if they're doing the king queen suited, they might be doing it with king queen off as well. And okay, why are these display card removal? Okay, well, so it's showing 45% now, and okay, well, let's see here. So he's shoving 1788 into the pot. So what this means is that I have to take the call size, which is 1548, and divide it by the call size plus pot size. So 1548 plus 2063 is 3611. 1548 divided by 3611 is 42.8% equity. So I would need to have higher equity than 42.8%. And it says I have 45% here. If I take out just like 10 jack suited, I still have 45%. If I take out ace 10 suited and ace jack suited, I'm at 44%. And if I take out eights and king queen off, 39%. So I think that we should leave king queen off in there, and also just throw in like a spaz range as well. And it's around like 44-45%, which is above the 42.8% needed to make it positive EV. I think that this is a fine hand. If he had more like 25 or 28, I wouldn't have called this, but because he only had a little bit left, it was like $15 more for me to call, and there was already, you know, like $350 in the pot. I felt like Queen Ace was a solid call, and I think that I can justify that with Equilab. 150, isolating this player. We're a little bit deeper, so I want to isolate a little bit bigger, and I'm going to bet. I like my bet sizings, and I probably could have gone a little bit bigger on the turn, maybe like $5.75, $6 maybe, and I don't see any reason to check. I don't really like the 10 coming out. I would much prefer like a 3 or a 2 or a 6 to hit. But the 10 hits. I don't think that the 10 is going to scare away any kind of a 7x or 6x that wants to call. And they call. And I win the pot. So spots like these, like against fishy players like this, you really have to go for thin value, and they're gonna call you with 7x. He could have had something like 10-9 or like 10 ace of diamonds. He could have floated me with 10 ace on the flop, picked up a diamond draw, and then hit a 10 on the river. So it is always possible that he has a 10 in his range as well, and he'll definitely call me with a 10. So that's a clear bet, and it's a bet fold, I think, because if he shoves the river, he probably has like 7-10 or 8-9 or a set at that point. 6 ace. I'm calling this player's range or open from the button, and I flop the nut draw, and he bets. He overbets the pot here. He bets $2, and my plan is to only call one street here, and if he wants to overbet the turn, I'm obviously not going to want to call that. So I hit the ace on the turn, and I really don't see why I should be folding this now, because he could be doing something super random and fishy with like a jack of diamonds, like 10 jack with a jack of diamonds or something, just really like air balls, you know. He could still think his 10x is good. So this is really nice too, because he's pretty much potting the river here after I hit the nuts, and there's really nothing that I can do other than jam and hope that he calls me with a queen or king, or like a set, or like a 9 of diamonds if he doesn't believe me. But they fold, so not much to say in that hand. 10-6 suited. Yeah, I remember this hand too. This is just like a whatever hand, I think. So I bet they call. It's an unknown as well, and they have all caps in their name. And you can crucify me if you want to, but I have a read that anybody that has caps in their name are complete donkeys and fish and douchebags in real life. Just try to follow me here. So I bet the turn pretty big as well, and then this is what happens on the river. He does a very quick bet too. He snap bets 11.55, like as quick as lightning, and I snap his call just as quick as he bet. So I snap call because I have trips the money goes to him, and he had 10 jack. So, I mean, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna fold that. That's just bad luck, because I've definitely seen players like this do this with an ace, king, queen, king, jack, when they bust their Broadway, and then other air balls, even like pocket sevens or something that just want to get tricky. 10-7, 10-5, 10-4, 10-6, I would have chopped with. And there's really just no reason for me to fold this versus an unknown. So if you look at other hands here, like nobody else has all caps in their name. And I showed this, well, Mr. Brown is also fishy, as you see. And they're all normal names. And they're all normal names as well. So a lot of players with just normal names, and that player has all caps. And then again, normal. They're normal names. And normal again. So I really do feel like people that have all caps in their name are going to be a little bit you can make looser calls against them. I don't know. I think it's just a personality type that would make their name in all caps. And I'm not trolling you guys either. Like I really do feel this way. I think that Donald Trump, he's the type of guy that would make his name in all caps on like a poker site or something like that. That type of personality. And so here's another hand. I bet, they call. They check. I bet, they call. And as you see, I have a flush, and the pot's $14 and they have 11 left. So I'm gonna jam. They check, and I jam, and they call, and they have the nut flush. So yeah, he's taking a lot of my money. That sucks. What are you gonna do? But as you can see, I'm also running like shit here at 25-0. 8-7 suited, and they call, and I bet, they call, and I bet, and they raise me, and this is a clear call because I have a diamond draw and I also have a gut shot. So if a 5 hits or a diamond hits, I'm gonna get paid off, because players rarely do this with flush draws. They usually do it with like 2 pairs, straight, sets, and things like that. So I call, and I hit my straight, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at this point he could easily put me on King X or like a broken flush, but maybe King X. So he checks, and now I'm thinking like they probably have King X or a set. And if they have a set, they're not going to be folding to like a half pot bet. And it also seems like they could have had broken draws, which they're not going to call bet anyway. And if they have King X, or if they think I have King X, then they're going to call with their sets. They're going to check call with their sets. So I bet pretty big here, and I think that's a really good bet size. I took a few extra seconds to think of a bet size in this hand, and I didn't want to go too low, like $8 or $9, because I feel like whatever they're going to call $8 or $9 with, they're also going to call like 11, maybe 12. But so I kind of averaged it out and thought 11 was like a perfect bet size, and they call. And I think that they had 6-5. If I remember correctly, they picked up a straight draw, but they also had the 6 on the turn, which is like, there's really no reason for them to be check raising the turn there with bottom pair and a straight draw. But it's not showing their cards, but I do remember what they had because it was in my replay inside the application. And last hand is a great one here. So this player is 5.7% 3-bet. Not too high, which means that they're going to most likely have premiums in their 3-bet range a lot of the time. So I do decide to 4-bet. I wouldn't always be 4-betting aces, but I do really? Wow. Okay. So basically what happens is I 5-bet to around 550, and they shove over top, and I call. And the flop comes king, king, brick, brick, brick. And they have pocket kings. So they flop quads. And just to burn me even more on this 17 buy-in downswing of mine, these things are happening. So yeah, I'm going to stop the video now. That was actually a good 25 hands, I believe, that we went through in about an hour and a half. And I'm going to be bringing out some more videos. I got that 10NL session to complete. And yeah, just stick with me. I'm going to get to $8,000 because my bankroll was actually at $1,700 a couple months ago. Within about 40,000 hands, I brought it from $100 to $1,700. Doing an aggressive bankroll advancement ascension, and now I'm just hitting some variance on the opposite end, and yeah, kind of sucks. So peace out, and you'll see more of me, more videos, and I really hope that you enjoy these and you're learning something from them, because I definitely am myself. And yeah,